This is the Untitled Film Project Podcast, and today we're talking about Gran Turismo, the movie. Sure, it was a video game that kind of transformed, some of these simulation games in the early 2000s. It now finds itself a movie based on a real story.
The 10 of you are the best Gran Turismo players in the world. Now is your chance to race real cars. This is insane.
Big challenge, making a movie about a video game. And let's get our initial takes on what you thought about Gran Turismo with Justin Bradford. Kick us off.
He is the racing fan of the group.
I'm a racing fan. Granted, I don't know as much about Jan Mardenborough's story, but I was very intrigued when I first saw the trailer for this. It's like, oh, well, this is pretty cool. And because I'm typically following more NASCAR, IndyCar, more than anything else as well. Because with racing, there are some deep levels of racing throughout the world that is very difficult to keep up with everything, right? But I was very curious about this film going in. And overall, I did enjoy it. There are some problems with the film when it comes to the timeline for dramatic purposes that especially can probably upset some folks when it comes to how Sony changed the story of Jan Mardenborough's journey for the sake of telling the hero's journey that we'll get into a little bit more as we're discussing the film. But overall, as a racing film, as a film with a hero's journey, I did enjoy it. I felt like I only saw it in the regular theater, but I would have really enjoyed this in an IMAX or Dolby just for the sound quality in the racing moments. Because I love that rumble.
Yeah.
When they're racing, I thought the stunts were great. And Jan Mardenborough actually played a stunt driver in the film. They made sure that you know that in the previews and the promotions for this. I felt like it was a pretty strong movie. There were things that this is based on a true story, of course, but a lot of things are not true when you get these because then it would be a documentary. So for dramatic effect, Jack Salter there's a lot of made up things with David Harbour's character throughout the film as well too, and the relationship with Jan Mardenborough in the film. But overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the portrayal. I enjoyed the dramatic aspect of sport throughout this as well too, because there's only so often we get decent sports movies that make you feel anything. I felt something with it, and plus I enjoy racing, so I enjoyed that part of the film as well too, of the overcoming so many things and against odds. And overall, I did like the overlay with PlayStation. I did enjoy that. I know some people didn't, but I liked bringing it back to what the origination of this was, which is he is a sim racer, and he's always liking it back to what it was like driving those simulations. Not a game, it's a simulation.
Okay, Jeremy Gover, initial impression of Gran Turismo.
I have never played Gran Turismo on any platform ever.
Forza. Have you played Forza?
No.
Daytona.
But I've seen, I'm not a racing guy, but I've seen the game, of course, like others play it or whatever. It's a Gran Turismo is not exactly a deep cut. Like it's one of the greatest games of all time.
Legend.
So I was familiar with it is what I'm getting at. Okay. And I loved the overlay. I love the fact that it would pause for 2 seconds or whatever it was and give you in the Gran Turismo font and the graphics, and it was like third place or whatever. It was so awesome. It was a great way to incorporate the game without having to know the game, right? Like if you don't know if you just get an artistic choice by the director and there's no connection to the game itself, you don't care. It works just
helps.
fine.
It helps you.
That's right.
Yeah.
But for those who do know, it's the best kind of Easter egg, right? Best who don't know. If you know, you know. Great. So I thought that was awesome. I thought the acting was tremendous. I totally believe that Orlando Bloom was Danny Moore. I totally believe that David Harbour, or I'm sure I'm going to, on this episode, call him Hopper. I believe he was Jack Slater, and I totally believed that Archie Madikwe was the guy who found his way onto a real racetrack from a video game. I thought it was I was very impressed. I didn't come in with any expectations other than the fact that, my son wants to see this movie. It's about a video game. Cool. Like, that was it. There was no, it's going to be good. It's going to be crap. It's going to be mid. No. I came in as blind as I possibly could other than the trailer, and I left being like, holy crap, that was great.
I, had an introduction to Gran Turismo, was kind of one of those peak moments in my video game life, which isn't huge, but I won a contest, and the grand prize was a PlayStation 2 with the Gran Turismo bundled with it. Okay. So for a while that I had that system, and that was the only game I had. But it was amazing. And I know it's not a game, it's simulators. But it was incredible. And so, I mean, like, I thought, like, that was one of those jaw-dropping next generation of video, console moments. And like, okay, that was, 20 some years ago. And then when I heard about Gran Turismo, I'm like, okay, I don't know. They're making a movie about a game. And, then I heard just before, I went to go see it, oh, it's based on a true story. And I'm like, okay, well, it's based, what? And then I was so pleasantly surprised at the way the integration of, they weren't just like borrowing a name of Gran Turismo that has such recognition and just trying to make a movie with it. I didn't know the real story behind it. And I'm like, yeah, this is a story worth telling, because I never heard it. That a kid who was really great at playing the game had an opportunity to drive the actual vehicles he was driving in his bedroom and become a racer. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. This happened? Wow, that's cool. And the acting, I think, of the people that played this story out, especially David Harbour, I was really impressed with it. It gave me, it had heart. I was emotionally invested in this movie, and I had the thrills of racing that I don't usually get from a lot of movies. And I was really surprised at how much I liked this movie. Okay, let's go a little deeper into Gran Turismo, the movie. What about this movie stood out to you as one of its highlights? Justin Bradford.
I thought the racing action, like that, to me, when I'm looking for movies about sports, I want things to seem realistic on the screen. So I'll go way back to Miracle, movie about the 1980 Miracle on Ice moment, where the United States beat the Soviet Union in the Olympics, and then they went on to win gold. But what I liked about that movie is they took people that could skate and hockey players and turned them into actors.
Yes.
Instead of the reverse, where you're going to have to do weird shots where you have the actors skating, quote unquote, and then you replace it with stunt actors or stunt skaters doing it. No, they had guys that could skate already and could play hockey be those people. So I'm wanting real action to where it's not always cutting away and just having voiceovers and things like that. I want real action.
Close-ups of just legs.
Yeah, close-ups of just legs and skating. Like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Here, you could tell the way they had so many just hookups onto cars. You had real racing action, and with the way they meshed it with CGI, it was pretty fluid. Like there were moments where you could tell, okay, this is definitely an animated type of sequence throughout the film, but overall it meshed well because I could understand why they had to do this, because you can't always recreate a crash intensely exactly the way it happened. It's difficult to do that because all the physics have to be the same, everything's be the same.
Right.
But the racing action in this was heart pounding.
Yeah, it
and
sure
that's what I liked. I liked so much about the action sequences in this that you felt like you were in the race car. You felt like you were watching the race. It didn't feel like you're watching a video game simulation by any means like that. But I felt like we were at Le Mans. I felt that as well. So I liked those crowd interactions. I liked the feel, the sound editing on this. I thought was very, very good because it felt like you were just entrenched within the movie, within the racing action.
I also I thought it was pretty cool the way director Neill Blomkamp, who is known for movies like District 9 and Chappie. This was a big departure for him. This was like him going into, the regular studio kind of making of a film. But the way he was able to combine the excitement of what was going on for a person who's not deep into racing like me, and it might have been just that eighth of a second when you see, a character punch the accelerator and you see a piston firing, and just almost subliminally, it goes by so fast, but boom, 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 all those little things of it's not just somebody putting their foot on the gas. You're seeing like, okay, this machine is coming alive. And then you're cutting quickly to what the result of that small action inside the car did for this race. I'm okay, you're helping me understand it at every single moment. So I really enjoyed like how they made the racing realistic to me, who's somebody who doesn't really know much.
Yeah, I mean, you put it perfectly. I was going to say that, but you put it way more eloquently than I could. I'm a casual racing fan at best. Just watched the Music City Grand Prix from my house just to see my wonderful home city of Nashville represented, and I thought it was tremendous. There was a lot of drama at the end. I thought, this is really, really cool. The nuances of the sport are presented in this movie to a casual sports fan, and I appreciate the sport even more because of it, and I think that's a big triumph.
Yeah, one of the things that I really thought was going to be a detraction for Gran Turismo, from somebody who really loved the game. I haven't played in a long time. The last one I played was maybe Gran Turismo 2, right? So it's been a long time.
20 years.
Yeah. But, that this movie obviously was rooted in the video game at the beginning. Okay. And I thought they did some great visual effects early on where he's playing the game and Jan is all of a sudden he's slowly surrounded with CGI with what looks like a real race car.
Yes.
Right. I really enjoyed the amount of CGI that they used because at first I thought it was going to be too much. Then they backed off and then they brought it in at just the right spots.
It told its own story.
Yeah.
Because it helped move the story along, like you said, remembering that he was a gamer.
Yep.
And so then now he's in a real race car. So first it was the dream of being in a real race car. That was how the effects, the car assembles around him.
Right.
Because he's in his own fantasy world. He's in the zone.
The world melts away.
I'm playing a game, but this is what I feel like. I'm dreaming that I'm in a real race car. And then later on, he's in a real race car and it dissembles.
Right.
To where he's got to remember where he came from. It's just as simple as playing a game, man.
Just do it.
Not really, of course, but that's the mental.
You're in your element. You're here.
Yeah, you're in this. You're just doing this,
right?
And then the car comes back, right? It was so cool. Not only did they did it well too. It wasn't shoddy CGI. There was never a point where I was like,
it's really good.
Where I was like, oh, that's kind of fuzzy. That didn't really work that well. And now they kind of, cut some corners here. It was It was great. I can't say how much I loved about this movie. It was really, really good.
One of the things that that is a detraction for me because, this movie does follow the sports movie Zero to Hero kind of thing of like, okay, dad doesn't believe in me.
Right.
But at the same time, like how many kids got that same lecture from their father of like, come on.
You're wasting your life.
What are you going to do with your life playing games, right? And so I think a lot of people probably could relate to that. That was a trope of sports movies. And, then there's then there's the terrible moment where you lose confidence and you get it back. And I know all those things are going to happen. And I know from very early on, this is going to follow that template. But it didn't matter because they did it well. Okay, so that gives you, good writing, directing, editing, all that stuff is like, okay, I know where this movie is going. I'm pretty sure, but I don't mind it being kind of that formula because they executed pretty well.
And Steve Martinborough, Jan Martinborough's dad, coming from a different aspect of it, he was a professional athlete.
Yeah.
He played professional soccer, football, over 300 appearances playing professional soccer as well. So there's that difference of, man, this is really difficult to achieve. And I know they dramatize that for the big screen even more than probably would happen in real life. But it's coming from a different angle of his brother, especially in the film, wants to be a professional soccer player. And Jan wants to be a professional driver from driving a simulator. So very different aspects, but they dramatize that. But Steve's coming from a different background of he knows the hard work it takes to be professional anything when it comes to athletics.
Yeah.
So that viewpoint, and then he does come around. You have the difference that comes in, and he's proud of him and everything, just wants what's best for him. So at least you have that aspect of it too. Again, dramatized for the screen. It's always difficult when you have things that are based on a true story because you know what's going to happen. Things are going to come out. There's going to be the fact checked.
One surprise, I was absolutely stunned, and it wasn't until after that I looked it up. I'm like, boy, Jan's mom looks familiar, but who is that actress?
Ginger Spice, baby.
It's Ginger Spice, Jerry Halliwell, and I was like, what? So I mean that was just kind of one of those like extra little boosts after the movie. I'm like, oh, that's even cooler. I didn't know that.
So what you want? I want to be a race car driver, Mom.
Is that what you really, really want?
Then you got to get with my friends. Okay, well, there was an issue, and this is where I think when I'm looking again at the Rotten Tomatoes aggregate scores, where the audience score for this right now is 91%. Critic scores 58%. And what I'm seeing from the reviews is people have an issue with the timeline and how true it is to the story. So this becomes very subjective in terms of what you expect out of a movie when it says based on a true story, right?
How realistic do you want it to be?
How realistic is it? How true to real life events and following at least the timeline? People understand there's going to be dramatization for the sake of the big screen, right? Because then it would, again, be a documentary and be a little bit different when it's fully true. One of the things that people need to understand about this, and this necessarily won't affect how most people view the movie or absorb the movie, but does affect some people that were present, especially family members. So, spoiler, because it is based on a true story, but when the accident happens, when Jan's car lifts and ends up in the audience and it kills a spectator and multiple more are injured, the movie portrays it as happening before the 24 hours of Le Mans. In real life, that happened 2 years after he raced in 24 hours of Le Mans.
Oh,
so
really?
They use this as the dramatic losing confidence, wanting to quit the sport.
Okay.
Into that story of the hero's journey of he needs that reset to be able to go and have it because of all the detractors, the people that don't believe in him, all the other racers out there that are signing these no confidence things that simmers and gamers shouldn't be allowed to race, da-da-da-da-da-da. So for dramatic effect, they replace that. So imagine coming from the family of the loved one that is deceased or the spectators that were injured and they reroute the story for that. Again, I understand why you do that for the sake of the movie and you're saying based on a true story, but then you come into the whole thing of what Hollywood has done where they sometimes change the wording of based on a true story or based on real life events or dramatized for the movie or things. There's so many different taglines that happen with this. That is a huge flip because they're utilizing a tragic incident to further the hero's journey. And
interesting.
That is not necessarily, it affects my score a little bit, but I'm looking at it from the movie perspective. But I can understand why people would have a problem because they're redoing the actual true life events of the story and rehashing history for the sake of his story. Because, it wouldn't make sense in the movie perspective to have that incident happen after 24 hours. Because 24 hours of him racing, them being on the podium and placing third is the height of the movie. That's why it belongs at the end, right?
Right.
Even though he's continued on with his racing career, but he had to prove himself. The team had to prove themselves to do that. What is your take, knowing that information now, that it was 2 years after 24 hours of Le Mans? Does it change anything about it for you? Does it change the whole based on a real life story? Any of that?
I don't think it really does for me.
Nope.
I understand completely why they did it because it made for a great movie. It is totally unfortunate that it is based on somebody's real tragedy. But I don't think it makes light of the tragedy.
Right.
They just kind of conveniently moved it around. So
conveniently is the right word.
Yeah, to me, I'm okay with it. I don't think it changes my score. What about you?
I'm not going to see a documentary. I'm going to see a movie. The movie has to be entertaining. This was the best trajectory for the drama, right? I'm fine with it. And I would say that, by the way, if I was I believe I would say that if I was the one personally affected by the loss. If it was a parent that got killed or a friend or whatever, I still feel I'd be like, okay, like I don't appreciate it, but I get it. I get why they did it.
Movie, yeah.
I mean, again, how many based on true events movies have we seen that have taken complete liberties, right? We used to joke all the time when it'd be like, based on true events. Like, okay, so there was a guy once. Like, that's all you need. Okay?
Right.
Like, that's so.
Right.
No, it doesn't. I didn't know that until you just told me on this episode.
Right.
Right.
I wouldn't
Same
think
here.
people
And
would.
my score is not affected by that. I don't care I don't care where they got the story from. They still gave me an effective movie that had drama, that had heart, that had a character, a strong hero's arc. It had a redemption story. It was a rags to riches almost. Like, it gave me all of that. And it did it with great performances. I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. This thing did not happen when they said it did. Okay, that happens in every movie that's based on a true story. No, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
Gran Turismo, the movie. Let's get some final scores on this. And how about I'll kick us off?
Okay.
This is Jim, and I didn't think that a movie based on a video game, I really was kind of, yeah, this is not going to be good, but I'm going to go put some time in and I'll check it out. And while I knew they were manipulating me with absolute prototypical, this is how you do a sports movie. Here's how you get from, somebody, wanting the impossible to, achieving the impossible, and how wonderful that is, especially because of a struggle. I knew they were bringing me through this and I didn't care because I really enjoyed it. I thought this was done very well. I think this was done with some really good acting. Loved David Harbour. I think he is probably the bigger star than Archie Madekwe, who, was the driver. I really liked it. Orlando Bloom, I thought, what screen time he had, he made the best of it. I was convinced. And then knowing that, this whole, event did happen, made it more believable and more acceptable. I think if they had just made this story up and presented it as this is a Gran Turismo movie and wouldn't this be cool, I don't think it would have mattered as much to me. So even though I know it was a sports formula movie and they got me with all the hooks, they did it well. I'm giving Gran Turismo a 7.
All right.
Let's go to Justin Bradford.
All right. Overall, I did enjoy the movie. I was looking forward to it just as someone that appreciates racing, someone that appreciates gaming as well, someone who wishes they had a simulator where they could take part in this, whether it's iRacing or Gran Turismo, something like that would be really awesome to take care of. But what stood out to me the most was the racing element through this. And I enjoyed the aspects of what we saw on the tracks, what we saw from inside the cars, what we saw just in the action sequences that took part in this movie, which actually were a very big part of this. It wasn't like there was lots of dialogue and everything then spaced way far in between was the racing action. No, you had plenty of racing action almost from the get-go. Even if it was Sims,
Yeah.
you still had racing action. They dove right in, and almost to the point it felt rushed at the beginning, but I understand why they had to rush to the whole getting to the academy, because there was a whole other story of getting him to qualify for his license. To get to that point. So while I felt almost a little long for me, I understand why some of those aspects are in there, but I appreciate having so much of the racing. There's also the part for me about the villain, Nicholas Kappa, that we'll quote villain.
Yeah.
Obviously, names changed. The people were not real because they didn't want to offend anybody. Jan Mardenborough actually races, so a lot of these characters are made up for the sake of the film. Totally get why you would do that. Very stereotypical villain driver in this role, which made me roll my eyes a couple times when they would drive by and he's like,
Yeah.
like that. I'm going, he can't hear you. Like, flip the bird at least. Like, do something
In
where.
fairness, I do that every day on the road.
I do it too,
And they
and I
can't
don't
hear
want
me
it.
either,
Yeah,
so-
I'm just releasing
Okay.
my negative energy. Is all I'm doing.
That's just real life.
But it's real funny with some of those things. That was the eye roll villain again, which that doesn't take anything off from me because I know they had to have some sort of opposite of Jan. If somebody
You gotta
took
have
to
an
battle, you have
antagonist.
to have an antagonist,
Yeah.
and he was that. And it was a very minor role, anyways,
Yeah.
because Jan was driving against himself more
Right.
than anything, just to prove to himself and everybody else that he just needed to be there because he didn't have to win. That was the whole thing that I did like about this too, is you're not having the hero's journey where they have to win the championship. They have to win this. Similar to Friday Night Lights, right? Like, if you're not expecting it, you think, oh, well, they're going to find a way to win. They don't. And
Right.
that's okay. The win for him was you have to place third at 24 Hours of Le Mans to be considered you qualified to race.
But you also have to finish fourth or higher to get your license.
To get your license.
get
So
to the
it
point
wasn't
where
about
you can do
winning. It's just being good enough to prove yourself because
Yeah.
it is really difficult to win a race. You think about it, there's so many drivers of any category or any level of racing that have never won. But do they deserve to be there? Absolutely, they deserve to be there. They're still one of the best in the world at what they do.
There's just so many variables that can
Exactly.
change the outcome of a race.
Exactly. So finishing top 4, top 3, that's still a huge achievement, especially
yeah.
when you're proving yourself coming from a sim to
Yep.
racing real cars where you're facing those G-forces, the heat, all those elements and everything too to make real life or death decisions. All those factors come into play. Again, I enjoy the acting. David Harbour, I think, did a great job. Orlando Bloom, just in playing that role of the marketer and then having to just address, is it the right choice? I knew that was going to come into play, so I did like how they addressed that as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
The video game aspects of the action sequences, I do like those little things where it popped up the place or it popped up the driver name.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that didn't steal away from a scene. It just reminded you, hey, this is based on a video game simulation, but it didn't overtake any of the scenes either.
And it helped you. If
And it
you
helped
couldn't
you.
spot the car
Yeah.
in a quick,
Right.
quarter of a second edit, you immediately know what
Right.
place he's in.
Just like the glow puck, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
And then you also have the
not bring up the glow puck.
then you have the love interest in there, but it didn't affect the story. It's just this is another little part of it that's not antagonizing him or making him go into depression or having to battle against that. No, is a nice positive aspect of, oh, he also has a partner in this as well too, that there's already a spark and now she's able to be a part of the journey but not take away anything from it. So those little additions in there, you have the typical dad doesn't believe, mom's just scared, but is proud of her son, which is obviously dramatized as well too. But again, like Jim said, I was okay with that because overall I did enjoy the movie. I like the take on this. I like the hero's journey. It's a racing movie, and we just don't get that many racing movies. I mean, Talladega Nights,
Days of Thunder,
which could get a sequel potentially. But I did think this was a great film by Archie Madekwe. I really like seeing him. You're getting somebody that also is coming that's young. Again, we haven't heard that name.
Yeah.
I like it when we see young actors being able to be at the forefront and be a star in a screen. And he also showed great just emotional capabilities of everything that he was going through.
For sure.
As well. And that's something you're looking for that doesn't feel forced, like we see with child actors sometimes that Gover does have an issue with. But I feel like emotionally he played the role very, very well.
And he
throughout this
did it
film.
in a low key way.
Yes.
Like, so you didn't have the stereotypical like cockiness or
Right.
other thing. In fact, that was part of the marketing problem.
Yeah, that he wasn't
Yeah.
cocky. He wasn't saying the right things. Like, no, you're literally taking him from his bedroom and putting him on the screen.
His first question in the hospital when he woke up was, "Did anybody else get hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody die?" It's the first question
Yep.
ever. It's not. That's not to cut to the chase writing wise. That's because that's his character. His character is
right.
no. I'm not cocky. I'm not arrogant.
Yes.
I'm here to prove myself.
Right.
But I care about others.
Right.
Right. So I liked it. We got a racing movie. It was a good racing movie, a good sports movie. I give it a 7.5.
Very good.
Okay.
Jeremy Gover, what did you score Gran Turismo?
I love the Gran Turismo overlay, like we talked about. I love the visual effects of the car, like we talked about, how it assembles around him and then it deassembles, and then that was really awesome. It's so unfortunate, you guys, that this was actually a 2-hour commercial for Sony.
Yeah, it really was.
I understand. Okay, like
And Nissan.
well, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Some of it is understandable, right? I mean, okay, it's like a PlayStation, which is a Sony product, was the game console
Yes.
this was on. He played it on that. Makes perfect sense. The stack of Sony PlayStation Gran Turismo games, totally fine. Makes
Every
sense.
edition, yeah.
In the family and friends lounge at Lamont, huge PlayStation logos behind him.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm okay with all that. But do we really need a 3-second hold when he finds a digital music player that is Sony in the store?
Yeah,
Do we
that
need
was
a 3-second hold on that, which
that-
seems like 15 minutes in a movie like that.
that was noticeable.
And then when Hopper, again, I knew I'd do that. When he opens it up, his gift, do we need a 3-second hold of it in his hand that it's a Sony digital? I understand they're not going to put an iPod on there. I get that.
No
Okay,
Zune?
I understand that. But 3 seconds in a movie about speed, no less.
Yeah.
That is an eternity.
How many points, Gover?
Half,
Oh
actually.
my God.
Wow.
But okay. I just realized it's another half point, actually, because... So it's actually a full point.
A full point.
Because I found out, and this may be totally true, okay? It may be totally true that he listened to Kenny G. But Kenny G was signed to Arista Records. And who owns Arista Records? Holy crap, it's Sony.
Okay. Jim, could you please take the foil hat off of Gover right now?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I think it's
You're
somehow it's affecting our recording equipment. You got to take the tinfoil hat
Are
off.
these Sony? Are we recording this on Sony? So
There are no Sony products recording this except for what are your phones?
Android.
Sony Ericsson.
Okay.
My point is that at some point it becomes preachy. We talk all the time on this show. Like if you're preaching an agenda, I can agree with your agenda, but it comes to I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be preached at.
Yeah.
This is another form of that. It's a movie created by Sony. Like they put it out, that's fine. It's about a PlayStation, which is a Sony product, also totally fine. But at some point, you've got to be conscious of what you're doing and putting out there.
They are. That's why they put it.
But no, that's the point.
Yeah, this is where the marketing guy in the studio is like the marketing guy in the movie.
Yeah.
Where
Everything is Nissan.
Yeah, he gets to, push the people who paid.
Right.
And he got his way.
We get it. It's a Sony PlayStation product. You're getting them a Sony digital, music device. That's fine. You don't need to hold on for 3 seconds on each. That's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm a casual racing fan, and my adrenaline was up the whole time. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, that was really great. Jaimin Hansu gave an Oscar nomination worthy performance in the scene. Maybe not the whole movie,
right?
But the judgmental dad is kind of cookie cutter,
Yeah.
But in the scene where he's he comes to Lamont and he walks in the room. He's getting ready with his Sony Kenny G or whatever it was. And he comes in and they're crying and they're talking back and forth. And even though it was cookie cutter arc, the scene was incredible.
Well played out.
So much tension and emotion and relieving of that emotion. And they're both crying. They're embracing. He's like, I'm so proud of you. But the key here is the writing was so good. I don't care if he really said, I'm proud of you, or if he didn't say that. But on screen, when he says, I'm sorry I didn't support you in the way you needed to be supported.
That's huge.
Is so big because he could have just said, I'm proud of all you've become. Or congratulations on going out and just wrestling that bull and getting what you want. He could have said any of that. He could have even said, I didn't support you, which is not accurate. He did support him.
Right.
But he said, I'm sorry I didn't support you in the way you needed to be supported, which cuts like a knife and is so relatable to the audience.
So more real.
Mm-hmm. So great. And it's so perfectly said. Then the writing pulls the rug out from that scene completely and ruins the whole damn scene. When he says, when the driver says, I'm proud of you. For what? Because there's a logo on his helmet that says, hey, I remember you. That for what? There was never any dialogue with you were trying to raise us the best you could, or you had two sons who wanted to play different sports, or you still let me play video games even though I wanted to and you didn't agree. There's no. What are you proud of him for? What are you proud of your dad for?
Thank you for going full Gover nitpicky on that.
So stupid.
I love this.
Like, so stupid.
Gover had me. And then
so
he
stupid.
Backhanded me across the face with that.
And that's what that scene did to me. Okay, they had me invested, ready to go. This is awesome, and then they pulled out that garbage. I'm proud of you too. For what? Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. We've already seen him as the audience watching on TV, supporting him. We've already seen him as an audience letting him go to this camp to begin with to earn the right. We've already seen all that. What is he so proud of?
He was proud that Dad landed a former Spice Girl.
Right. We've already seen that.
It just wouldn't be a podcast without Gover going full Gover.
So stupid.
And he just did that. So if you had that on your bingo board, you get that space right there.
It was so late in the show.
It was completely unnecessary and stupid.
You're unnecessary.
I was almost replaced on this show. Can we talk about Ginger Spice, as Jim brought up? She was great. That reaction to the crash was really good. I mean, I bought every second of that.
Felt like a mom.
Yeah, so great.
Yep.
This is one of the best movies of 2023 so far, despite that horrible writing scene at the end. I give Gran Turismo an 8.0.
Holy crap, I didn't think it'd be higher than me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
He
often
even
happen.
govered and still gave it a higher score than me.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. I am a writer, not a screenwriter, but I'm a writer. I've decided this, by the way. My level of writing, my level, like you wouldn't call me elite, I wouldn't think. You wouldn't call me bad. I think my writing level is worth your time.
It is professional.
Worth your time. That's what I think my level is.
Worth the time. Absolutely.
If I can then look at a movie script, it doesn't matter if it's this one or, whatever, and I think I can do a better job than you, that's a problem. I may be worth your time, but I'm not a professional screenwriter. I'm not a professional writer. I don't do this for a living, right? But I have enough talent to where I'm like, okay, I can kind of fake it till I make it, and make it impactful. Some are great, some are okay. But overall, it's worth your time. That's my level. You are a professional screenwriter or a screenwriting team.
They're a team. It was 3 people.
Yeah, right. So, okay. So,
Do your research
so
first.
if I can do that, I did, Kenny G, Sony. So if I can do better than you can, right, that's a problem. I'm just an audience goer.
You're
They're
saying
points off of that.
you're saying you can do better than them because of one line.
I'm saying you should not be putting garbage in your otherwise good script. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You are really diving in, dude.
It's time to ask the big question on the Untitled Film Project Podcast.
All right, so this question is relative to sports. What major sports event would you like to experience and witness? So this is not just like, oh, I want to go to the All-Star game or something like this. I need major, something that's going to be difficult to get into, a potential once-in-a-lifetime experience for you that's maybe difficult to travel to, or expensive tickets or something like that. So what's a bucket list sporting event that you would want to experience?
That's very tough. And you guys have, sports reporting experience, so you guys have probably done the bucket list kind of thing.
We've done the Stanley Cup final together.
Yeah, together in Pittsburgh.
And well,
And
of course, in Nashville. Yeah, but,
yeah,
but
Nashville.
that's
But I
right.
mean,
We
to
did on the
travel
road.
for that,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did. Yep. I've been to the Super Bowl. I've covered a Super Bowl.
Yeah, see that one up, that's where he beats me.
Yeah, it's
Right
hard
there.
to beat.
We've done an All-Star weekend.
All-Star weekend, done multiple NHL drafts. I've experienced the Detroit Red Wings versus Toronto Maple Leafs Winter Classic at the Big House at
Oh,
University of
yes,
Michigan.
that's right. Yep.
So that was good.
those are big.
As
Yeah,
well as games at Comerica Park, hockey games at Comerica Park.
So yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of a resume from a professional standpoint, but as far as like being a fan, like going to,
Yeah.
I think I'd have to. And I've been to an Olympic hockey game before. It was Sweden versus Czech Republic, but in 2002 in Salt Lake City.
I was there too. I might have been in this.
What?
No way.
No.
No.
I was there. I didn't see that game.
Oh, I was like,
okay.
holy crap.
We might have missed each other by a couple
That's
hours.
pretty crazy
Oh,
if we
my
passed you
goodness.
on the street or if you dropped something and I picked it up for you or something.
Yeah.
This idiot.
Hope I never work with him.
Oh God, he's a litterer.
So I've been to a hockey game before, an Olympic hockey game before, but I'd have to say probably, you know what? I was going to go hockey space, but I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to say a World Cup gold medal,
Yeah,
like championship World Cup. I think that would be
atmosphere.
Okay.
tremendous.
I gotta
Almost
just-
no matter what
I
country
got to
it's
just
in.
jump in. That was my pick. So let's do this together.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd go with you. That'd be great.
Yes,
I'd love that.
Yeah, because that would be my pick, and I don't think I would have several years ago, but I've been following professional soccer more over the last few years, mostly on the MLS, but also in the Premier League, and so I've gotten. I understand it.
Yeah.
Like I get the fever. I understand, the hype is not hype. It's pretty amazing. And having just recently been to a Leagues Cup game in the MLS, just within the last couple of weeks, I have felt that electricity and that crowd and seeing the moments, as watching them play out with my eyes and feeling it all around me. I think a World Cup, championship game would be outstanding.
Clearly, if we can pick and choose, I'd want the Americans to be involved in that game. But
Sure.
They got some work to do.
right. But,
Yeah.
but even beyond that, it transcends that.
Yes,
I
it
just
does.
want to be
Right.
there.
It's an event.
Yeah, just a piece. Okay, it's Spain and Argentina or whatever. Pick your powerhouses, right? It would still be electric.
It sure would.
And just incredible to be.
No matter where it's at.
No matter where it's at. And I would also say it probably helps that you don't have a dog in that hunt, actually.
You just get to soak it
Because
in.
you just get to cheer every goal and save and everything. There's no invested interest. It's just like, okay.
Every amazing thing you get to celebrate.
Spain and Argentina, just show me the peak of the sport. And it would do that. So, World Cup finals, mine.
My only caveat would be, it would have to be like a no Vuvuzela World Cup final.
You're saying 86 vuvuzelas on the way in? They're confiscated?
Yeah, I'm saying pat everybody down. There's no vuvuzelas in that fantasy scenario. All
right.
So thankfully, this is not your answer to the question, Justin Bradford.
Well, it would be pretty awesome to experience. There's some things that I could think of. It would be cool to experience a Super Bowl because I haven't. And I'm so glad you got to experience Super Bowl the way you got to experience.
Yeah, it was
for the halftime show.
Absolutely.
Holy
Oh, my God. Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop,
Kendrick.
Halftime show.
It's going to be tough to top that.
That was a great one.
It is.
Yeah. So it'd also be obviously really cool to see like a Stanley Cup final game 7, an Olympic hockey match for gold medal, or what I'd love to be at is a swimming or track and field gold medal match as well. Those would be also like the atmosphere for Olympics and everything too. Indy 500 is up there for me, but I feel like that's more attainable that I could get to and actually go to that without taking much. I can make that happen. So that's why I'm going with the Monaco Grand Prix.
Oh, that's would be amazing.
That is a solid choice.
Not easy to get to. Extremely expensive. I mean, just you think to get to Monaco and then stay anywhere in or near Monaco would be out the ass of dollars.
You'd have to be Tony Stark level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm thinking like bucket list of what it'd be like to actually experience that event.
That'd be awesome.
That is not easy to achieve or get to. I can't be like, yeah, you know what? We're going to go to Monaco next year.
We're going to save up for a couple months and we're going to go to Monaco.
I'm going to see this amazing event that's impossible to get into, and I'm going to see it in one of the most beautiful parts of the world.
Yeah, so
we can get an Airbnb, right?
Oh, totally Airbnb. For $2,500 an hour.
Yeah.
We were on the same page. So that is mine. F1 obviously biggest racing in the world as well too. So just the who's who would also be there. Like that's that kind of event. They have the who's who, not just racing, but of worldwide celebrities and everything.
Sure, because they're the only ones that can afford it.
Exactly.
So
to be able to mix and mingle would be kind of cool for me to be able to be there for that. So Monaco Grand Prix.
All right.
Excellent answer.
Those are our bucket list events. If we could just magically snap our fingers and make happen, we'd love to do that. What is the thing that you would just do anything to get to and see? Let us know. Hit us up on social media.
And you can do that, Untitled Film Project Pod. Follow all of our social media accounts, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Hit us up. Let us know.
We're sticking to that. It's a line in the sand. Thank you for joining us in the Untitled Film Project Podcast. We love hearing from you. This has been me, Jim Chandler, along with Jeremy K. Gover and Justin Bradford. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Untitled Film Project Podcast. To support the show, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Original music by Jeremy Schwartz. Special thanks to the Music City Film Critics Association. Editing and post-production by Jeremy K. Gover. Voiceover by Chad Bennett.